Hello and welcome to the proof is in the universal application. And the idea is that since Tutuca is a no-build framework, that means it ships everything that's required to start an application as the framework itself to the browser. That's the first step. That means that creating your application means setting up stuff at load time and then starting the application. That's one thing. But the other one is, can you add components as you go? Not all at first, but as you go. That will be the second requirement, which here in the universal application you can see. It's just two components, like the root of the universal application and a component picker. By default, the component picker has no components because it's empty, but you can just drop a file that contains a ECMAScript module, and it will load it, compile it, register the components, compile the Tailwind classes, the MargaUI classes, register that, register custom components, and register custom events. And from the get examples function, it will list the examples, so you can create one of those as an instance. So here I can turn the universal application into the tree example. But I will reload. That will be like, that's interesting. Any of the examples in the repository you can drop, and the application will become that application. Here is the code of the universal application. Is less than 300 lines of code if you want to check it. But that's the first step. Like, can I create a universal application that becomes any other application? The second step is like at start, but also over time. But the third step is, can I actually compose components that don't know about each other? That's kind of my conception of a component, is something that is self-contained, that expose a standard interface and can be composed with other components it doesn't know, as long as the other components expose the right interface. So here I have a couple of the examples from the example folder, with some with the get examples a little bit shorter, so it's easier to pick them, and an extra one. I created one called tabs. So if I drop that one, I can create a tabbed interface, and each tab, I can create new tabs. I can like rename tabs, but it tab by default as content, it has a component selector, and by default here I can create another tab interface. But now I can, for example, drop the counter module and reload the list, and I can turn this into a counter. And I can go to the second one, and I can drop like the to-do module and reload. I have to reload here because like the drop is picked up by the root, the universal app, and compiles and registers everything. But since this component selector is inside the tabs, the tab component doesn't forward as of yet the fact that there are new components available, because like I could do it, but every intermediate component should forward these messages, and could be kind of annoying. So for now, you have to reload if the component selector is not at the root. So now I can create a to-do list, and I can add some tasks, and I can edit and mark as done and remove. Let's remove edit this as to do. Let's add a third tab. And what else? Like I have a JSON editor, and we can create some nested things over here. And it all works. So let's rename this to JSON. And to make it more interesting, I can drop a web component. The interesting thing about this one is that it's a web component example that has a web component emoji picker that is loaded and registered dynamically, but also it emits a custom event, something like, remember it's something like emoji click over here. So it's not only a new event type that the application has to listen, is a custom one. So it registers it by introspecting the views and extracting all the custom events. And so now I can use my emoji maker over here. And to show a little bit of more complex setup, I can, let's say I want to check my personal sites over here and projects. And I turn it into a list of personal projects. And when the tab, when the custom selector, the component selector becomes the other component, it sends us a message called init. So that component can initialize itself. In this case, on init, this component will load the data from a JSON file and render the thing. And now I have like a custom application with components that don't know about each other. But for example, like a composite component, like the tab interface, that can contain arbitrary tabs with arbitrary components, and these components can have life cycles, Tailwind classes, MargaUI classes, custom events, custom CSS, and everything will be loaded and registered at runtime, but not initialization. As you go along, you can extend this application to become whatever you want. And finally, we can create another tab that has a tab, that has another tab, that has two tabs, that has a counter, and everything will still work. And here I'm dropping the components from files, but that's just because it was the easiest thing to do to prove that the framework not only allows this, but everything works and there are no bugs. But of course, you can imagine the next step is to generate the code on the fly, and it's something I will be doing shortly.